What is up, everybody? Welcome to the morning stream here on the Den of Nerds Live. How are we doing this fine Friday morning? How you doing? Are you excited? I know I'm excited, man. This Taika Waititi business is pretty dang wild. A lot of crazy news actually dropped last night. Lots of good stuff going on. How we doing, chat? I see you guys. I see you coming in to hang out. We got Rachel. We got the great captain. We got Bill. We got Dylan. Let's go. Drew's in the building. Let's get it. Oh, yeah. Hey, by the way, you guys might not realize this, but this is like the beta testing for what will become the most entertaining show on YouTube ever. That's what the plan is, man. Slacker skipping yesterday. Brian's giving me some heat. What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. Coffee ready, please? Oh, man, do we have some spicy stuff to talk about today, I tell you. Why is it so pristine? Because I spent time in the morning trying to not look like a troll that comes out from underneath a bridge every morning. That's what I look like when I actually wake up. Like that, so that's why. What's up? Ken Cologne in the building. Guys, we're going to talk a little bit about Ken Cologne. I hope he doesn't get too embarrassed. We gotta talk about this. Just a teensy bit. Just a teensy bit, because I feel bad, man. Be honest with you guys, I feel bad. I put Ken in a rough spot with the first hot take on the channel. And we'll talk about that in a second. But I am not alone this morning, as I am joined with executive producer Ryan H. Let's get him on to the stream. Let's get his thoughts about how uncomfortable I made Thursday night for Ken Cologne. Here we go, Ryan H.
Oh, good morning, Den of Nerds.
What's going on, brother? How are we?
I'm good. I didn't just wake up. You just woke up.
I did kind of just wake up, just to be honest with you. You know, originally these streams were supposed to run at like 9 a.m.
Yeah. I
was like, in my head, this is how it goes. So in my brain, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wake up at 7.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, let's back it up. I'll wake up at 6. I'll wake up at 6. I'll go to the gym. I'll get my sweat on. You know what I mean? I'll do all that, and then I'll come back. I'll start writing the show. I'll start working on the show. I'll start preparing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be 3-4 cups of coffee in. 9 a.m. goes. The music plays.
Energy.
Yeah. And instead, it has been a series of, how does this work? Is this thing on?
What do you mean?
I keep showing people freaking the DMs on Twitter because I keep forgetting about, all these. So all the newness to it, is truly like a beta version of the show. I hope to actually spend some time yesterday tightening some things up. Saturday, I'm going to spend a lot of time Saturday and tighten things up. And next week, we'll be doing this show from the main channel all 5 days, either at 9 or 10. You know what I mean? It would be like either at 9 or 10 a.m., and I'm excited for that, man. We'll get a lot more eyeballs on everything. So, guys, basically what I'm saying is if you're one of the people watching live now, or if you're one of the people that watches on the replay, thank you so freaking much, because this is a beta, man. This is a test, and, YouTube's not even putting this stuff out to a ton of people right now. And so I really do appreciate everybody who's been joining in, helping us make it what it is. I saw a lot of good feedback on the community post that I did yesterday about the show. It's a work in progress. A lot of things will be changing and developing over the next couple of weeks. But I'm telling you guys, there's a special thing that's going to be going on with this show. I truly want to, by the end of this year, have the most entertaining morning stream on YouTube. Something that people just flock to. They want to see what's going on the morning stream on the Den of Nerds Live every day. That's the goal, so that's where we're going to go. But Ryan, I want to ask you, man, right off the top, because we got to talk a little bit about the hot take that I did that upset so many people in the Twitter sphere and caused Ken so much grief. What did you think of that hot take? Just, you don't have to sugarcoat it. You could be real. Just tell me, what did you think of that hot take?
There's hatred on the internet. This is new to me. I'm not, I don't understand these things.
Yeah.
It's you doing entertainment, so relax, everybody.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say about it. Here's what I'll say. I do agree that was not the best. It had the right energy and the right tone, but it wasn't the best thought out. You know what I mean? It wasn't the best prepared hot take, so to speak, right? Sure. I was just kind of a little bit, I call it going in half-cocked, right? So I had an idea. I had a lot of frustrations. I had a lot of things to say. I think that script is ass. Like, that's the thing. I'm definitely not pulling punches about that. I think that script is horrible.
Right.
And I think it's so funny how many people like it. It just shows like the people really that disliked Rise. I don't know, man. I think it's really put them in a weird spot mentally where they can. I just can't. I can't with that script.
Right.
But I will agree that the hot take itself was not the most well thought out, well written bit. But it left. It left.
What are you gonna do? I mean, you had an opinion which was definitely opposite of what a lot of other people were thinking.
Yeah.
So you got to put it out there.
But that's
whatever.
Right. In my opinion, that is what a hot take is. You know what I mean? When the most people are like going this way, I think the definition of a hot take is no, I'm thinking this way.
Mm-hmm.
And I did find it really funny and surprising how many people really liked that script. Look, totally fine, dude. Like, people can have differences of opinions. That's totally cool. But in the sense of entertaining and in the sense of like doing what I want to do with this stream, with the show, and with the brand in 2020,
mm-hmm.
people's feathers are going to get ruffled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was working on a hot take, and I might do it next week sometime. And it's about how Reylo's ruined Reylo. And if Ken thinks that the other one was rough, wait till we do that. Wait till we flame these Reylos, because look, I don't want to be mean, but at the same time, man, like, there's a lot of comedy gold in that there well. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. See, Ken's freaking out already about it.
He's not.
What's up? Oh no, Ryan, are you there? Ryan, you froze on us. Oh, he's just saying, JK, go for it. Let's see. Well, while Ryan's at least he's frozen on a really good smile.
Yeah.
Hey, whoa, he's back. Okay, holy cow.
Keep going in and out.
Okay, yeah, no, you're back. You were frozen on a really great smile, though. At least you weren't frozen on.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, a terrible screen like that.
With your face, it's my face next. I'm
bada boom, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. He's frozen. He's not frozen, just happy. I love it. So let's get into some of the news. I just want to talk about this a little bit with you guys here, and then I am going to cover it in a full put together video on the main channel as well. So if you guys bring in some good points or we have some good conversation here, I might even sort of talk about it on the video that I do later, which I think would be cool. But Ryan, of course, we heard yesterday that Taika Waititi is being courted for a Star Wars film. Now, this actually comes from the Hollywood Reporter, meaning that it's probably real. You know what I mean? It's a real deal thing where they are approaching this guy for a film. So let's kind of just get your raw reaction. What do you think of Taika Waititi doing a Star Wars movie?
Yes, that's it. The man has great vision, great ideas. What he did with Thor Ragnarok was different and fun. I know not everyone loves it, but
yeah,
you have to. Especially in something like Marvel, you got to spice it up a little bit. Personally, I thought Jojo Rabbit was the movie of the year. I think he got a snub at the Oscars for not getting director.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got to see it then. I got to see it.
It's really good. And something different again. And he brings a twist to Hitler.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I think he would do something with Star Wars, which would absolutely fit we want to change things and do something different, explore the universe more. That's perfect. I think, he already has some toe in the water with the Mandalorian. I think he can do it.
Yeah. It's hard for me I looked at online, right? I love trying to gauge the reaction of fans and know what's going on in these different fan bases and things like that. And, I think there was a lot of people that are pretty positive on it, particularly after he did the finale, right, of The Mandalorian. But I know there's several people. One person I'm thinking in particular, and that is Tara Zahn.
Yep.
Executive producer Tara Zahn is not a fan of Taika Waititi. No, she is not a fan at all. And I know there's a lot of people that are not necessarily fans of Taika. And my thing is, honestly, dude, I have a slight concern here. It's like I like that. I like Taika. I like a lot of his work, but there is this side of him and his sensibilities that are sort of like I sort of you know what I mean? I'm like
Sure.
I'm a little worried. Like the first scene in the finale was cool with those two troopers. It's very Taika.
Right.
You know, they're doing the thing. They're shooting the guns like right there, showing that they can't do it. It's a good scene, but it borders on like, nah, bro.
Sure.
Like
but
for me,
I'm, you know, maybe he would. This is me just playing devil's advocate because we got to think these aren't going to be trilogies, is what they're saying. You know, if he has 2 hours to tell a story, I think he can tell a story. So as long as he's the one introducing new concepts and new characters, I think he's good. If he's trying to, do I think he would have done a good job with the sequel trilogy? You know, in one of the, like if he was Rian Johnson, no, because he needs time to build out a world or tell a story. You know, he's very J.J. Abrams-esque, where it's like, give me just this little piece of a story and I can tell it. I think if he gets to develop his own little thing, maybe will it go too far one way? Maybe, but I thought he did well enough with The Mandalorian that it'll be okay.
Yeah. No, dude, I feel you. I think that it's one of those things where he's got great sensibilities. Mm-hmm. I think he has awesome sensibilities for film in general, but also just Star Wars film, right? But I just worry. Here's the thing that I guess that I really worry about. The next films are incredibly important, right? They're incredibly important to set up the future of Star Wars. And as much as I think the Marvel people, there's this thing that's going on with the Marvel directors that I think is great, where the Marvel directors, the one thing that they have that the Star Wars directors don't have is they've been able to work within systems that have hard walls. Do you know what I mean? Like they've got they've got things that you can or cannot do.
Yeah.
And they can actually play within them. Whereas the Star Wars directors tend to really just do whatever they want and like not really adhere to that kind of stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Now, with Taika, though, like, man, like he's one of those guys where like, yeah, he could play ball. He could come in and do some really great stuff and adhere to the thing. But he's going to do Taika. He's going to make a Taika film.
Right.
And while in Marvel, it's great to have that sort of flavor in Ragnarok, but you don't necessarily want that flavor in Avengers, right? In Infinity War Endgame. You really don't. There's some sensibilities of all of the directors that's kind of sprinkled throughout certain scenes, but by and large, that's not the tone you're really looking for. And I feel like, depending on what Star Wars does, if they want to establish the MCU, maybe Taika in a film with Taika could totally work. But I still feel like Star Wars is positioned to have these ceremoniously big movies that matter a lot. Like the reason The Last Jedi like broke the fandom and was bad for Star Wars is because it was like the saga films are like Endgame and Infinity War just over and over again. That's what they're meant. That's what they mean to fans. And so in some ways it's like, okay, yes, Taika could definitely do this, but is he really the guy that we want doing the next big Star Wars movie? Because they've got to all be big, right?
Sure. I also think that Marvel directors also get the benefit of not having vitriol of a fan base that is, you know, crazy for one thing. Maybe it's because it's a little diluted with so many characters.
Yeah.
But you know, maybe they need, not they as the fans, you know, I don't want to get attacked. But Star Wars in general needs something that can, you know, a director like Taika who can say, this is my vision. It's a little off center and a little off beat, but it's still fun. And it can kind of like, again, spread open and kind of like what Kathleen was saying, you know, she wants to explore other things. And that I would also think that means also other directions and other directors. So, you know, you had George's vision for 6 movies, you know, and then you were going to get JJ's. They messed it up. So now it's time to kind of play in the sandbox a bit and see what good could come.
Yeah, no, look, I agree. I just, man, I got to be honest. Like when this news, I'm not as hyped on it as I know a lot of people are.
Hmm.
Like I know a lot of people are, and I think that he can nail all sorts of the things within the production. Like if you look at the finale of The Mandalorian, it is brilliant on a lot of different levels. It really is. The whole thing flows really well. He does really well with the character beats, right? So like
Sure.
he really nails these character beats. He's a good actors director. I truly believe that. He creates sort of a fun atmosphere on set, the ability for them to just kind of play around and have fun. I think that's great. I think his ability with action is great. I think he really can do action well, and that was probably helped out in Ragnarok because we know that Marvel brings in those other directors and those producers for the action. So a lot of
Hmm.
the action in Marvel movies is on rails as far as the director's job, but I can't imagine that's the same thing in The Mandalorian, and the amount of action and how he directed it was great, right?
Sure.
So he can definitely do it. But my thing is, man, if you're looking for like if honestly, I would be more comfortable with like Favreau himself. I would certainly be more comfortable with Deborah Chow, but the problem is
Right.
Deborah's got and I saw someone in chat saying, "Can we get female directors soon?" Yeah, Amy Rhodes. I think that everybody's pick for that is Deborah. But the problem is Deborah's doing the Obi-Wan series. The next film's in 2022. I do not want her to be given the film and at the same time be working on the Obi-Wan series. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That Obi-Wan series is really important. She needs to just focus completely on that and allow that to shine. She cannot be involved with pre-production. She cannot be involved with casting. She cannot be involved with set locations.
Right.
All of the things that they're literally going to have to do by the end of this year for the 2022 movie, she cannot do. So she's off the table. Same thing with Taika, though. He's off the table for the 2022 movie. He
Hmm.
can't do it. They have Love and Thunder is out in 2021.
Right.
So he has to start shooting that by the end of this year. Some people like Jeremy Conrad, who I will be having on the show as well next week, Tuesday morning. Jeremy Conrad's going to do the morning stream, dude. Isn't that sick? We're going to be talking about Marvel.
Oh,
and
he's
stuff.
doing
Yeah.
the morning.
Yeah, he's doing the morning stream on Tuesday
Very
on the main
nice.
channel. Yeah, it's gonna be wild. But he said that all of the Phase 4 movies will be literally done by the end of this year, like
Mhm.
done, which is mind blowing. But that means that like Taika probably could not do the 2022 movie.
Right.
Like so, both of these directors that I think people are very hyped on, they won't do the first movie. If anything, they could do the 2024 movie or the 2026 movie. Does that change your opinion at all on whether or not Taika should be given one of these films?
As long as they're going with the not a trilogy strategy, no, because these
Yeah.
are all going to be one-off movies. So I understand what you're saying because if you're going to compare non trilogy movies and you have Rogue One and Solo, would he make more of a solo movie? Yeah, it was a little more lighthearted, upbeat, not so dark. But I still think that is an okay movie, as long as it's something we're asking for. We didn't ask for Solo. We didn't want it. It wasn't Harrison Ford. Goodbye.
Yeah.
So again, if they're doing the, Outer Rims and what it was 400 years ago, and they're all kind of separate pieces, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with a spin on what it, and it's a lot of pressure you're putting on this director for 2020. Who are you getting for that one? I know they're throwing up flashy names to take the name, like the heat off of Star Wars right now.
Yeah.
So who are we getting that's going to kind of steer a ship, and then whoever takes it from there is going to be fine, whether it's Favreau or Chow. That's great for me.
Yeah.
And I have a hot take on Favreau too.
Oh, dude, damn. We might have to do it. We might have to do the hot take.
Do it.
Here's my thing with Taika. I think what it's really kind of coming to in my brain is that I'm perfectly fine with him doing a movie but I don't want him to be the guy that's crafting the vision, the world, the story, everything that's going on. I think he's great coming into a team like that. Like I think the reason the Mando thing works is because, like, dude, It's written by John, right?
Hmm.
It has a beautiful setup. Deborah's like alley oops to him with a
Yeah.
terrific episode 7 that a lot of people don't give enough credit to. That episode 7 sets up 8 to do everything that it does,
Hmm.
right? But if he were to just do his own thing, if he were the person that was involved with like sort of writing and crafting how this will go, I'm not a fan of that scenario. I think he can come in and he can direct the crap out of it. He can give us a really fun ride. I am worried about his humor. Like, I'm just straight up worried about the humor, because even though that first scene works for me in The Mandalorian, I know it doesn't work for everybody. I know there's a lot of people, like even someone in the chat was literally just saying that, like, in the episode 8, that humor overshadows the episode. A lot of people really didn't like that opening with those stormtroopers. And even me, someone that liked it, I don't really want to see that.
Right. And again, that's why all I keep bringing up basically is that, it's because, he needs his own sandbox, and like with Thor, there was some overarching things, but that movie, was very different. It didn't really touch upon anything that really came before it.
Right.
Whereas like a series, you're a director in a TV series, it's much different than directing a movie, because
Definitely.
there's a singular vision with a singular thing. This has multiple writers, multiple producers, so there's a lot of voices, and he's just trying to bring in a little bit of flavor into that. So like he might have had some writing in it, in that first or in the last episode, but he didn't write the episode. Like, he was directing the episode that was written by Filoni and Favreau.
Right.
Majoritively, like, he has to hit his beats. This is where the story's going. It depends on what kind of creative control he has over the movie,
Yeah.
as well, because Kathleen's going to be, depending on if she's still there, in his ear.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and
he won't be able to have that kind of carte blanche to do whatever he wants.
Yeah. It's funny too, because think about the one thing I think that would make me more comfortable with this, and maybe it would make a lot of people more comfortable, is if it is indeed true that John is coming in and taking over duties for Kathy, or is at least sort of an architect. Because we're getting the sense that that article. There was an article that broke late last year that pretty much said that Kathy is looking to put John as a much more important piece to Star Wars content in the future, the architecture of whatever comes next. So regardless of whether or not he takes over her job, he's going to be a big creative force. And the fact that he and Taika worked so well together doing the not only acting but the directing of that last episode, I think that's great. And if Favreau is playing a big role, and if Filoni's got a nice little creative role as well, and then you have Taika doing a film, I think I'm way more comfortable. I guess what I'm saying is, and this kind of goes back to the whole problem with Kathy in general, is plugging Taika in under the leadership of Kathy, that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because she gets really swept up in creative gravitas, and I think that that's what happened with Last Jedi. Like, Ryan is a creative force of nature for sure, and he turned in arguably a brilliant script, you know, but she didn't. She was so caught up in the artistic brilliance of this person that she never thought to be like, okay, but with that being said, what do we have to tighten up here? Where you got someone like Feige, who's like literally telling people like Edgar Wright, Sir Kenneth Branagh, Edward Norton, like legendary creative forces, and he's literally just like, no, like yeah, but not here, right,
yeah.
So that's what concerns me. It's like, okay, if we're gonna keep doing things like we're doing, too much control in the hands of Taika Waititi, like, that's not what Star Wars needs. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying Star Wars needs like a return to form per se,
right?
But I think that whatever they decide upon, we talk about it all the time. We talked about it ad nauseum. We need to have a plan and a vision for what happens next. And once that's established, we cannot stray too far from it. So, but then again, he does it in the MCU, right? Taika does it there.
And maybe the difference was Taika plays well with better with others than Ryan does. Ryan is another beautifully artistic person. Knives Out, another great movie of the year. Right. But he tends to seem like he's I'm going to do it my way, where I think Taika knows how to kind of, okay, take what he did it with Feige, who has to have all the control, and he was still able to kind of pull out something that was still him while keeping it in line. But yeah, it just depends on who's there.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, definitely.
Cracking the whip when.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good call. I do want to take a second here just to tell people as well. If you're a big Marvel fan, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this later in the afternoon, tonight at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time over on the Den of Nerds, the big channel, I'm going to be doing a live stream chat with Charles Murphy. Charles Murphy is a big-time MCU scooper. We talk about his scoops all the time on the channel. And I can't wait to talk to him. I might even mention this Star Wars thing with him with Taika a little bit just to get his thoughts on that. But that will be very cool. But guys, there's just a couple more points I want to get into, and then please feel free to drop some questions in. We'll get into Q&A in the back half of this, and I want to just talk with you guys about it. I see a lot of good stuff in the chat, so we'll go over some of that. But yeah, feel free to drop your questions in. Of course, you can drop a super chat in. Super chats should be enabled on this channel, and they do support the channel, and I will answer every single super chat that comes in unless I don't like your screen name, and then I might not do it. But hey, what's your hot take? What was this hot take you had?
Oh, on Favreau.
Yeah. What, he's not that great?
I don't think he wants to do it.
What, the
be the the studio head of Lucasfilm. To me, he's a creative. I think I mentioned this on GA's video last night, but he's a creative. He does things that he wants to do when he wants to do them, and he seems like that free spirit kind of guy where when I want to do something, I'm going to make a show about cooking. Like, I'm going to make a Marvel movie. I don't see him wanting to get bogged down per se in being the studio head of Lucasfilms.
I mean, okay, so I've got some thoughts because you're not the first person to say that. And I'm trying to remember who the other person was, because I actually had a good dialogue with somebody about this as well. I agree that Favreau, I think it was Justin, because they found a quote. Yeah, there's a video, an unreleased video, which maybe I will release, where Justin was talking about should Favreau get the job compared to Kathy and stuff like that. And yeah, maybe I will release that video because I should still have all the footage for it. And it's practically edited. But Favreau had this quote back in the day that was very Lucas-esque. Kind of talking about how when he was in, I think he was in like real estate or something. He was in some other job where he could have made really good money. It was much more safe, and it was real corporate-y though. And he realized that he hates business. Mm-hmm. He realized that he hates business and he just loves the creative side of things, right? And so I think that you're right that he has that sort of attitude where he's not as much as he is a company guy with Disney, I think, he has that sort of rebellious spark in him, that disinterest in business. He is a creative person. However, here's my thing on the flip side. He's also a much different person now than he was back then. Back then he's the independent filmmaker guy. He's, doing swingers. He's doing that kind of stuff, trying to break in. He goes on to have a pretty illustrious career. And I think beyond just his career, now he's really settled in to what it's like to be a company man for Disney. He's been a good dude. Did, The Lion King. He's did The Mandalorian. Mm-hmm. I think that he's now in a stage that he might be thinking a little bit more about legacy, and he might be thinking a little bit more about what he could do in that type of a position. And I actually think that he does want it. And I think that especially when he realizes, he's probably had some conversations with Feige about this. Let's just say it's on the table. Let's just be real. It probably is on the table, right?
Absolutely.
So especially if he realizes that Feige is probably going to be Alan Horn within 10 years, and Favreau's in his 50s probably, maybe early 50s. So he's probably got 15 to 20 years if he takes this gig at doing Star Wars. And when he thinks about it all and he realizes that he could have this job under the new Disney as Disney moves forward, and he's going to have his buddy Feige being probably like his only boss eventually, right?
Right.
I think that it's a little bit different of a conversation. I think Feige does, or I think Favreau actually does want this, particularly because it is Star Wars. You got to remember, he was so into this project and the writing of it that he's bugging Dave Filoni over Christmas break. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And the fact that he does have a relationship with Lucas, and I think Lucas really respects him. I think it would be very bold. It would be bold on Disney's part, and it would be bold on John's part. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But think about this. The homie coming in and being like, kind of having this air about him where he'll sort of be like, guys, this is fun. I'm kind of new to this. I'm in charge of Star Wars. This is crazy. What do you think we should do? Hey, send in a super chat. I'll make a movie or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that's kind of fucking exciting, bro.
Yeah. No, I know the aspect of it happening is. It's tough. It's tough to. Like I said, I just think maybe he's getting to a point in his career, even though 50 is like the new 32, hopefully.
Yeah,
right?
Well, especially with modern advances in that kind of money. Let's be real.
I don't think he's getting tired, and he keeps doing things, out of the box, within the box, and I just see him not being done with that yet.
Yeah, no, I can.
But I just keep seeing it everywhere, and I'm like, I don't know. Like, be careful, because you don't want to get too hyped over. I know I'm the guy that likes to yuck the yum.
Right.
To your Morbius delight.
Yeah, I know, right? But yeah. No, I get you. By the way, guys, super chats are not on here. You're right.
Yeah.
I saw people in chat. They're like, there's no super chat option. I figured it out. Unfortunately, I can't do it right now. But the next time we'll have super chats enabled, so that'll be fun.
Do it.
But yeah, let's get into some Q&A. Let's go over some of the things that you guys want to talk about. Let's see here. We probably have like 20 more minutes, and then we'll get on out of here. I'm going to start working on me project of the Taika video in here. So I'll be bringing up some of the stuff that we talked about here. What's Morbius, says Maverick Pilgrim. You should go watch the vidya on it, man. Ryan and I did a produced video on it. About how that's all gonna work. I think it's a good video, actually. It's pretty interesting. Explains the ins and outs of it. But yeah, guys, feel free to drop in some of those questions. So here's one by Robert Sinclair. Says Kathy defends the brand super hard with her own rubric, and that's why Trevorrow got booted. So what are we to believe, Josh? Okay, very good point. Robert's bringing up the point because I had said that Kathy gave some of these directors carte blanche. I have an answer to this, but I'm wondering, do you have an answer to this, Ryan? Do you have something?
I do not have an answer. No.
Okay, so here's what I think is going on with Kathy. I think that she definitely understands filmmaking. She understands filmmaking, and she understands what a Star Wars movie is supposed to feel and look like. Okay? So she's got a really good grasp on that. And I think that when it comes to certain things, when she's like looking at projects or working with directors, she can definitely tell when something's going off the rails. Right? So she can be like, okay, this is not going to look and feel like Star Wars. But when it comes to the fan base and the brand of Star Wars, I think she seriously lacks insight. Because I don't think she's actually a Star Wars fan. I don't think she is. She might say that she is. She might claim that she likes the films, and she probably does like the films. But she's more of a film person than a Star Wars person.
Absolutely. That I'll agree with.
Right. So when it comes to something like giving Ryan complete carte blanche on that, she's like, oh, this does feel like Star Wars. And in a lot of ways, it does. But she doesn't necessarily understand the rules of the fans the same way that Feige does. Like, don't get me wrong. Feige and Marvel does some pretty wild stuff. Smart Hulk, Fat Thor, that's pretty wild. Those are pretty wild things. But they're not going to make Iron Man, like, dumb.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're not gonna do certain things to legacy characters, like make Captain America a Nazi. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna do that. Although they tease the Hydra thing, the secret empire.
Yeah.
With that, that was kind of cool. But like, they're not going to break the characters, and if they mess with it, they'll probably put the toy back on the shelf the way that it belongs.
Right.
I think Kathy lacks that understanding completely. But I do appreciate that that question and that feeling there, Robert. So that's cool.
And it's tough for her. I mean, like when we compare her and Feige, like Feige has so much source material, and whatever you think about the expanded universe, and her not thinking it's lore and things like that, she has to create more than Feige needs to create. Does that make sense? Like he has so much that he gets to pull from while also telling a new story.
Right.
But it's tough for her. Not that I'm a huge, I'm not trying to. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. But it's tough for her because she has this weight and no help behind her. Especially going forward. There was a lot of things in the EU that was from the past, and maybe that's why they're going backwards, because give the fans that building and what they want to see from the EU. But, it's tough for her. Too.
Yeah, it is tough. But I think, too, like, there's something going on there that's out of her control. Because think about this. Like, the thing with Marvel and the MCU that's so interesting is, like, they can take stuff straight up from the comics and then, like, twist it around and, like, do whatever they want. And they will usually reference things from the comics, and like Feige has no qualms about talking about that. He'll be like, out there and be like, "Hey, this may not surprise you, but it comes from the comics. We're adapting great stories from the comics," and they have this 75-year history. Now, Star Wars actually has a ton of great stuff, but I don't know how that works, because when you sign up to write for Marvel, you are actually freelance, and you do not own any of that. Even if you invent a new character, which is, by the way, this is part of the reason why comics have become sort of stale, is because the writers and the creatives realize that, like, well, why would I create a new character for DC or Marvel that they will just then own and then go on to put in movies, and I won't get much money at all, right? So that's part of the reason why the creative juice goes out of comics in general. But everything is owned by Marvel. I don't think that's the same with the expanded universe, because what the expanded universe was properties that were licensed. So they licensed the Star Wars brand, but they created their own stuff. So, like, for instance, I think most of the Zahn characters from Heir to the Empire are technically owned by him. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Most of the John Jackson Miller characters invented in the Old Republic, I believe, are owned by him. And what I mean to say is none of that stuff is actually owned by Lucasfilm. Therefore, it wasn't actually owned by Star Wars.
Right.
Right? So when Disney bought it, they don't own it anymore. So I think it's slightly different, whereas
something Disney doesn't own. What?
Oh, I know, right? Trust me, they're working on it. They're probably working on it. We got you now. But yeah, so that's, I think, what the big difference is between the reason that Kathy gets up there and says we don't have all of this, we don't have any source material, which is just a boneheaded way of saying it's different for us with the source material that we have, right. And we're trying to establish a new canon that's separate and all this stuff. So it's a little bit different, but I can definitely see your point.
Sure.
Let's see here. There's a good question up here. That I wanted to go over. Yeah, Dylan George here says, Josh, I feel like not excited at all about Old Republic series. Can you point me to some material that might change my feelings? Well, I think, Dylan, the number one thing that people talk about when they talk about the Old Republic is the KOTOR games, Knights of the Old Republic. So Knights of the Old Republic, which, by the way, you can play on your cell phone now.
Yes, so fun.
It's one of the best Star Wars games ever. It has an incredible Star Wars story. So I would start maybe there. But here's the thing. So if you're not a gamer or you can't go back and play like this old game, right? Go on YouTube, find some videos that explain the character of Revan. Valiant Comics, or Variant, I think. Variant Comics, the that channel has a great video on it. Comics Explained probably does some stuff. There's a ton of channels that break down Revan. So I'd go back and I would check out the character of Revan. Also, there is a comic book called The Dawn of the Jedi. Dawn of the Jedi was like one of my favorite kind of entry points into the old Republic Star Wars stuff. Great stuff with the Rakata Empire, the Ashla and the Bogan, the planet of Typhon, this idea of what the Force users were. Because in that book, you're supposed to be balanced. And if you lean too far to the dark side, they will put you on one of the moons, the Ashla, I believe, so that you come back to the light. If you're too light side, they send you to the Bogan. They send you to the moon over there that has the dark side, and it brings you back over. And so I think one of the reasons the Old Republic is so, people are so fond of that is because it was an era in the timeline in Legends where a lot of really cool stuff happened, man. Like it wasn't as restricted as things were even in the prequels. There's even like wilder stuff that happens in the Old Republic than even happens in the prequels. So those are just a few of the things that I would suggest. What about you, man? You got any Old Republic stuff you would suggest for Dylan?
Yeah, I would the games again. I'm like a sort of Star Wars normie. Like I just tipped the cusp of not being. But again, those games, maybe it's just for me because I'm older. So it was, well, hell of a reminisce. Like when I saw it on my phone, I was like, get out of here. But it kind of gives you that little bit of backstory that you kind of need.
Yeah. No.
To kind of see where they would maybe go, but you don't know with them.
Yeah, I think one of the main reasons that it's so cool is that it's more like Game of Thrones in the sense that like there is a Sith Empire, there is the Republic, there was the Mandalorian, and so like during some of these conflicts, it's just way more like, oh wow, like there's this group literally of Sith that are warriors. They have their own armies. They have the pureblood Sith. They have like a caste system and stuff, right? And then there was a ton of Jedi. And then there was at one point the Mandalorians as well. And Mandalorian, Sith, and Jedi all tangoing, having sort of like a weird love triangle sort of thing in the lore is really cool. So I think that's part of the reason that people are so into it. Let's see here. Let's go for Mladen Kulik asks, have you read any of the Disney Star Wars canon books? Yes, I have. And I talk about this a good bit, but I would say one of the best ones is... Lost Stars. Lost Stars is an amazing canon book. Lords of the Sith is an amazing canon book. I actually love Lost Stars so much, I'm reading the manga adaptation of it, and they're actually doing a manga adaptation of Star Wars Rebels, which is amazing because it's so shonen what they do with Ezra in that. It's like very shonen anime.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And kind of right up George Lucas's alley, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
totally. Yep. So I would recommend those ones as well. Let's see here. What other ones? Plagueis' Legends, unfortunately. The James Luceno books are great. Oh man, there's one that I'm missing. Oh, how could I forget this? The one that's right in front of me, Master and the Apprentice by Claudia Gray. Amazing book. Yeah, Catalyst is great, as Gray Dawn points out. Yeah, so those are a few that I would recommend. Where's the option for not just yes, but hell yes, Brandon says? I assume you're talking about Taika, right? Yeah. Jacob's Quest asks, but isn't Del Rey still reprinting Legends material? Yeah, they reprint Legends a lot. And actually, Legends, all of the books now come over and are printed under Marvel. So they had a 2-year agreement to finish out the publishing at Dark Horse, and then a lot of those books came over at Marvel, and they're printed at Marvel. Like for instance, I have a big anthology of the John Jackson Miller, one of the big comic book stories that he did. It was a Dark Horse book, but I have the Marvel Legends version of it, like that big old thing. It's really cool. The character of Zesh is awesome. But yeah, so even though they're reprinting all that stuff and the licensing agreements are coming over, it's still a thing where I don't think they own it, dude. Like I don't think they own it. Mm-hmm. And it could be one of those things like, for instance, what goes on with Hulk until recently. They, probably have the Universal stuff figured out. But like they could use Hulk, but they couldn't do a solo Hulk movie because then Universal could just be like, well, we're going to distribute this and make most of the money. So maybe it's one of those things where they're trying to maybe use these characters, but they can't use certain ones or they can't do certain things because they just don't want to run into some legal trouble. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what always happens. Watching and typing from Trader Joe's parking lot, never ideal. Trader Joe's is all right though.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely watch or read Master and the Apprentice by Claudia Gray. Rael Averross, such a dope character. Would love to see him in something like a show or a movie or something or a TV. Yeah, dude. Rael Averross is awesome. So let's see here. Almost picked up that manga. Worth it? Absolutely. If you're a big manga fan, I think that the artists that they have on it are great. One of the things that's great about manga that I love, especially with Star Wars manga, is watching how they do the lines and how they add that energy, that Star Wars energy, the zooming of the flying, the lightsabers, the blasters, all of that stuff. The line work in manga is so expressive, and it's awesome to see how they use that medium to literally show what's going on in the Star Wars world. Like, it's really, really beautiful stuff. So I'm a big fan. Let's see here. We'll do a couple more questions, then we're gonna get out of here, guys, because I gotta go work on this here Taika video for the main channel. Make sure you come back later today on the main channel to watch that stream with Charles Murphy. Man, that's gonna be really cool. And then hanging out with Jeremy Conrad next weekend. Man, we're gonna start having these scoopers on a lot just to get it from the horse's mouth. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I would say if you guys have any questions for Charles, you could throw them in the chat too. Maybe we'll get around to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see here. We got a question from Russell Wells. Do we think that Taika/Feige story could be based off a Star Wars Marvel comic, but Marvel owns them, aka Feige? Okay, so that could be interesting. The only thing about that is the only really interesting stuff going on in Star Wars comics right now is like what Charles Soule is doing with Vader, and a little bit of Dr. Aphra is like cool. But other than that, there's really not much that's novel. There's really not a lot of novel work being done in the comics. However, that's going to change with Luminous. And one of the things that's cool is Luminous, technically, yes, Feige does have a say in that because it is Marvel Comics now. Those Star Wars comics are going to hit Feige's desk as well as hitting the desk of Matt Martin and people within the story group. I didn't even think about that. So thank you, Russell. That's a really interesting point. But still, I don't know, man. What do you think about that, Ryan? Do you think could there be something in Luminous? I mean, I've sort of spoke about this before, but like if they do something in Luminous that's really freaking cool, they could definitely spin out of that or build off of that for the movies.
Sure, and I would imagine this will kind of be something different for Feige doing his own Star Wars adaptation. So maybe he is going to want to be part of the beginning process of it, which works now that he has full reign over Marvel. So maybe he's gonna kind of iron it out there and then bring it to the screen.
Yeah,
sounds like a Feige thing.
Definitely sounds like a Feige thing. Could be
Don't
really
break
cool.
It if it ain't
right.
broken.
I love what they're supposedly doing with Luminous. I hope we get more updates about it soon because I think that would be brilliant. I've always said, look, I've said before, like Claudia is just so great. Charles Soule is just so great that I don't understand why you wouldn't allow them to create new stories that help build the new canon moving forward, right?
Right.
Claudia's been stuck. They've both been stuck working on filling out the backstory, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even the, Master and the Apprentice, it fills out the backstory. Lost Stars fills out a backstory. You know what I mean? Leia,
Right.
Princess of Alderaan, Bloodline. It's all backstory.
Mm-hmm. And this is why I think with Taika, I don't think you're getting a backstory with him. It's going to be something in the future, something new, something whatever. And again, with him not being able to do 2022, if he's doing 24, 26, there'll be a separation. There'll be a few movies. Everyone will kind of see the direction they're going in, whether or not, it's a cohesive thing with Kathy or whoever else is going to be there. He'll have his own playground to play in, and it won't just be backstory.
Yeah. That would be great, dude. Just to let great writers develop great stories. I think one of the reasons that the EU worked the way that it did, and there was a lot of like kind of trash stuff in there, a lot of garbage, but like there were people that were just brilliant storytellers that just had a passion for Star Wars. Very similar to what we saw with Mando, where it's like you can clearly see that John is a lover of Star Wars and he wrote an amazing story
Right.
That's great. That's great television. It's great streaming. It's great movies. Honestly, it's a great 4-hour movie that really shows a creative vision within the Star Wars world, which is what Star Wars was. Like the way it started with George, it flies on the wings of that dude's imagination. It really does.
Absolutely.
It's his imagination, and I think that's what worked in the EU for some of these things was it was just great storytellers. They had been great at all sorts of other stories. John Jackson Miller is great. He writes all sorts of stuff that's brilliant. You know what I mean? Timothy Zahn is great. He's written brilliant stuff. He's even written brilliant Star Trek stuff, So when you get those kind of people and you just allow them to form something within that universe, I think that's where the magic happens. So I'm hoping that's what happens with Luminous, where they give those people the first phase of story. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let them work with the story group, of course. Keep it on rails, but have it be story-driven. I think it needs to be story-driven. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's something that Star Wars hasn't had in 6 years. So
yeah,
other than the two shoot-off ones, but still.
Yeah.
That's what they need.
They need that. They need to do that. And either way, it's going to be fresh. Either way, we're going to a good place with Star Wars. I truly believe.
Sure.
Let's see here. We'll just address a couple more things in chat, and then we're going to get out of here. Did you read The Galaxy's Edge: A Crash of Fate? No, I haven't actually. But upon your recommendation, I will check it out. Would you be down with an Ahsoka storyline? Yeah, I would really like to see Ahsoka more, but I think that Zahn is going to do a book with he's doing the High Ascendancy book next, but I think that he'll do a book with Ezra and Thrawn and Ahsoka and Sabine, or that's what the Rebels sequel is. Now, a lot of people are talking about that Rebels leak. Look, I haven't really talked much about it because we can't really confirm anything about it yet. You know what I mean? But if that leak ends up being correct, that sounds like a dope show, dude. That would be great. And that's where we would get a lot of that story kind of filled out, including what's going on with Ahsoka, hopefully. But yeah, what do you think, Ryan? You want a little Ahsoka in your life?
Sure. I know they have a kind of a place where they are and a fan base that's huge within it. Again, I feel like they live action, they're going to want to kind of move on. They don't even want to go within that. I remember it when D23 when they put up the kind of timeline map and it had where everything fit in.
Yeah.
And they're going way back if they're going to do this High Republic thing. So I think they want to keep whatever that timeline was in the middle. Like they're going to wrap up Clone Wars. Maybe they do a Rebel thing in the animation world, but live action, I think they're going to go far to the left and far to the future.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would say so. And I'm excited. I think it looks good.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Watched Rise of Skywalker for the 6th time last night. I'm super jealous of you, Jason, because I want to go see it. I'm almost every day. I'm like, do I have a couple hours? Can I go see it? I've just been too busy, but I definitely want to see it again. He says, how come nobody ever mentions the chimp fixes Kylo's helmet is an homage to Lucas's original idea to have Yoda be played in a chimp costume? That's because there are a lot of people that are butthurt about that movie, and they'd rather complain about it. Honestly, I really like that movie. It becomes a thing where I'm one of the only people that really fights for that movie. But I thought about this. I was like, well, what would I say to someone if I was having a debate? And the thing is, I'm not even debating that it's a great movie. I'm debating that it's damn fine Star Wars and honestly, kind of a return to form for Star Wars. And I really like it. I really do. And I'm not gonna pretend that I don't just because some people on the internet will call me a shill. You know what I mean?
Oh, by the way, did you cash that check though?
Yeah, I did. Honestly, I've been working on a lot of bits for the stream and for the show, and I've thought a lot about. I'm going to introduce this phone in the office.
Yeah,
and I'm going to get a lot of calls from JJ. In fact, had everything been working perfectly, yesterday I would have come on and done a segment of Into the Comment section where I was going to look at the comments from that hot take video because a lot of them are pretty spicy, right? And I was going to start the show off by being like, guys, look, I'm going to be real. I've been too nice on the sequel trilogy. I've been too easy going on it. I've had a change of heart. I think I'm going to speak a little bit more honestly. And then and then I'm like, oh, hey, oh, Alan Horn. Oh, no, wait, how much is the shield check this time? And you know what I mean? And then I like hang up and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, guys, love the sequel trilogy. Like hit a like button and I'm like celebrating. I'm like, I love it, JJ. You know what I mean? Just to have fun with it because, you know, people on the internet are ridiculous, but it's kind of what makes it all fun. You know what I mean? Just doing this and dealing, you know, with the thing that happened with the hot takes. You know, people took that clip and put it out on the internet and tweeted about it and did all this stuff. I'm like, that's exactly what I wanted you fuckers to do.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Thanks. And oh my God, you're not going to be able to stop. Even I'll say it to your face. I'll say it to your big, stupid internet face. That's exactly what I want you to do. And you won't be able to stop yourself. Right. Because the rest of the hot takes in 2020 are going to be so spicy that you're going to share them all over the internet. You're going to be like, the horror! The lack of humanity! Oh my God! You all just wait. It's
coming,
gonna be.
Folks. It is coming.
It's coming. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. But in either case, guys, we're gonna leave it there for today. Thank you so much. If you watch this live, you watch this on the replay. Thank you so much for being a part of Das Morning Stream. Man, this show, I can't wait. I can't wait to watch this thing evolve over the next couple of weeks and months, man. It's gonna be really cool. So if you're one of the people, if you're early adapter here. Thank you so much. You're one of my day ones, as we call them. So thank you so much for that. And make sure you come back to watch the succinct produced video that I'll do with Taika and Star Wars in the next couple of hours. And then at 5:30 p.m., we're going to be hanging out with the man, the myth, the legend, Charles Murphy, over on the Den of Nerds. So Ryan H., thanks so much for being here, brother.
Buddy.
Appreciate it. And guys, as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I will see you in the next